Roll for Crit is made possible thanks to the support of viewers like you and our patrons on our Patreon page.
You can become a patron for just $1 a month at patreon.com/rollforcrit. Welcome to Roll for Crit, and welcome to our Gen Con online coverage. Right now, we are joined by Stephen Buonocore. Very excited to have you. Look very relaxed. You are clearly...
Oh, so relaxed. I'm the most relaxed man in gaming right now.
Yeah, you're taking a load off. You're really taking it easy, and it's well deserved. And
thank you, man.
It's great that we have you here to really kind of kick off our full-on coverage. We have a lot of videos coming out, but you're our first big interview that we're showing off to people, and we're so excited. It's an honor to have you here to talk to you because you're a staple of the industry. I think it's fair to say at this point. And you recently announced your retirement. And why don't we just start there? What has that been like? Why did you decide now after all these years to retire? How do you feel?
Like, what happened, right? That's why I'm doing the whole thing with the glasses. If I can take this off now, it's because I can barely see here. It is very bright out here in Florida, which is where I live right now. So yeah, obviously it came as a surprise to most, if not everybody, except for a very few people that I had told before that. And people were like, obviously it's COVID related. Obviously, Stephen was pushed out. None of those things are true. I mean, literally, when you do something like this, when it's completely under normal circumstances, you plan these years in advance. A transition from when I was the sole owner of Stronghold Games into the merger with Indie Boards and Cards, creating Indie Game Studios. And in that entire time, the plan was, well, how would I then unwind myself from the company, take that step back, hand the reins over to the rest of the company so that I can relax. I'm not old, I would like to say. I'm just turned 59, but I'm older than you guys, and I'm older than most people in the industry. And I think that, I've achieved everything that I certainly wanted to achieve, including that merger, which culminated in what we're seeing now. And then once that happened, we planned out a good timeline, and that timeline did flux. It did change a little bit, but in the end, this was a great time to simply say, okay, you guys got this. I can take a step back. I still have a significant financial interest, and I still want them to succeed, Stronghold Games, Indie Boards and Cards, and I 100% believe that they are they're not as big as Asmodee, of course, but they will be. That nobody is, not even Simon, who's number 2 in size, in the industry. Indie Game Studios will continue to be a premier and preeminent brand within hobby gaming, and I could not be prouder to be part of it in the past. And I will be looking from the sidelines now. I'm sure I'll be consulted a little bit here and there, but I'll be looking from the sidelines now as they continue doing absolutely great things. The timing is perfect. I mean, it just is on all levels. The only sad part is that I'm not at Gen Con to have a mini retirement party there, and I won't be seeing people for the rest of the year to be saying goodbye to people that weren't there and things like that. But I'm not going to disappear from the face of the earth, and I think we'll get to the things like that, as we continue the discussion here.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll just have to throw a new party for you next year.
I like that idea.
Yeah, twice as big.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you said you're in Florida, and I'm sure a lot of people there would just retire and go to the beaches, but I have a feeling you're not just going to walk off into the sunset, so to speak. What are your plans for the future with this industry? I'm betting you're still going to... You mentioned consulting. Do you plan to maybe do more like stuff like podcasts or stuff or other things to maybe still integrate and interact with the hobby?
Well, so as I outlined in the press release, and I assume you guys saw the press release that we put out on July 1st, and the retirement is technically on August 1st. So right now I should be wearing a red shirt, but I'm relaxed.
We'll cut you some slack.
You're the first person. You guys are the first people to see me in the relaxed look.
John, quickly edit in a red shirt.
Yeah, we'll put a red shirt on. No. So the plan is, and it was an outline. It wasn't extremely specific, but on some level it was specific. I'm going to remain within the hobby board game media portion of the industry, just like what you guys are doing, right? You guys are part of the media. Myself and Ignacy Chevicek of Portal Games, right? We've had Board Games Insider now running for about 5 years. Extremely popular. We've got about 20,000 downloads per episode. Obviously that changes per episode. So it's very popular. We're on the Dice Tower Network. We're obviously going to continue doing that. I won't be talking about Stronghold Games news. I'll be talking about something a little bit new. I'm kind of rebranding myself as the Podfather of gaming. I've been called that by people in the past. It's sort of a play on the my Italian heritage, the Godfather. So they've called me the Podfather. A lot of people use that also already. So it's the Podfather of gaming. I'm going to be using that. I'm going to be talking about other media things that I do. I'm going to be doing more with the Dice Tower. Tom Vassell and I, of course, have a frenemy relationship. We love each other, but we tease the crap out of each other when we see each other. So we'll continue doing some of that. Tom has invited me to do more things with the Dice Tower. Things like that will be announced as we go forward. Potentially doing things with Board Game Geek. Obviously, a very big media / just information outlet. So I can see myself, and I've spoken a bit with Scott Aldy on Board Game Geek. So that's going to possibly happen in the future as well. Besides personal interests that I have that I'll go out and pursue as well that are not part of the industry, I do have little bits of secret projects that I might be working on that I can't talk about. But in no case, and this is sort of important to point out, in no case will I be going back into publishing. I'm not going to go to another publisher. That would be so disingenuous, and that doesn't make any sense. Media, who knows, little projects that may involve indie game studios, we'll see. But the point is really to take that step back and just do the things that are fun for me, like this, talking to people like you, doing my own stuff, and not having the stress and the day-to-day responsibilities of running a company.
Yeah, you're one of us now.
I'm one of us. One of us. That's right.
Yeah, it's great that you're still going to be sticking around as a public figure and talking about all the things that you're passionate about. And if people haven't listened to the Board Games Insider podcast, definitely go take a listen to that one. If there's two people who can talk a lot about interesting things in the industry, it's you and Ignacy. So that's an
I like to think so. Thank you.
Yeah, easy one to recommend. So why don't we're talking about the future. Let's step all the way back into history now. You founded Stronghold Games in 2009, is that correct?
That is correct. End of 2009.
How, and your entire time in the industry, how do you feel about it? Your legacy, so to speak, that you've left now. When you look back, I assume you're proud of everything that's happened. Does it feel like a long time to you, or does it feel like you just yesterday woke up and started dealing with board games?
That's a great question. It feels like almost like both. It feels like it's, that those first baby steps were a lifetime ago. But the transition through to now and the company doing so well, it just feels like a full circle, and it feels like, I did it and it's now done. And I can now move on. So, it was so integrated early on with the rest of my life, because as you may know or not, I as most people do, they start the company so small, it's just you, and it's just you part time. I was working for the man in IT on Wall Street for a very long time, for like 30 years, and then started Stronghold to bring some business sense that I thought I had, and my educational background, and bring all of that to bear on an industry where a lot of the companies that were springing up were not, in my opinion, acting with good business knowledge. So doing that and bringing that to bear all started in a very small way. But after about 5 years, I realized there was no way that I can continue both working full time and doing this. So in 2016, I got myself off of IT completely and migrated 100% to this. So even though, it's just ending, in some way it's this long period of time, and in something it's new and fresh, and I just started it. Well, I'm leaving now. What? But that's okay. I mean, it really is okay. It feels like I did it, and now it's out there, and now I've got great people. And let me mention a couple of those people, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Let me mention Travis Worthington, my business partner. He's the CEO of the company, of Indie Game Studios. He will continue managing the Indie Boards and Cards brand. Sydney Engelstein, daughter of Jeff Engelstein / designer in her own right. She has design credit on many games, including in the Stronghold Games catalog before she joined the team. She's now elevated to the director of game development for the Stronghold Games catalog. So she'll be curating the Stronghold Games catalog, as well as looking at game designs for Stronghold Games and Indie Boards and Cards as well, going forward. So those are the two main people to mention that I'm kind of handing the reins over. You needed two people to take over one Buonocore. I want to point that out.
Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks.
But they're just great people, and I'd put the people at Indie Game Studios up against anyone at any game publisher out there. So very proud of them. I'm proud to be handing over the reins to them as I leave for retirement.
Now, you've been lucky enough to have such strong people to hand the reins over, but throughout this period of time, have you had any regrets about how decisions you made with Stronghold Company, or maybe with how some things you've even seen with the industry?
No, I mean, not a single regret within the company. Literally, I mean, maybe we printed too many of a given game, printed too few of a given game, Right. I mean, so you're not ready to be nimble there, and gotta wait for that next print run, or what are we gonna do with these games that didn't quite sell? I mean, those are minor things. Those happen in any manufacturing publishing business, but not a single regret at all about the way the company started, progressed, merged, and now into my retirement. If I had to do it all again, it would have happened virtually the same exact way. And it's a really good thing to be retiring at an relatively early age, because now I can enjoy myself. Well, when the world opens up again, you're probably going to see Buonocore on, in Africa, going on a safari, in Japan, going, and checking out Shinto shrines and things like that. I mean, I love travel. I love being there. I don't like the getting there, but I love to travel, and I definitely want to do a lot of that. So this is going to enable me to do that. So I really don't have a single regret, and I hope everyone out there believes me. I am completely sincere in that statement.
Take us with you.
I'll tell you where I'm going. You can go. Pay for you, though.
Yeah, we'll meet up in Africa. Let me be the first to say I will watch the Stephen Buonocore travel show where you go around the world and just have fun, just have a good time. I think we'd all enjoy that. How about also, I assume now you'll have more free time to play games, and probably more games that are not necessarily games you maybe have to or want to play for work-related reasons.
Exactly.
Is that something you're looking forward to? And is there anything maybe you're playing right now or excited about coming out in the near future?
It's right there. So I'm sitting in my my dining room slash game room. This is a game table. Half of the tabletop is on, and the other half is not. And so below is Gloomhaven all set up right down there. So my girlfriend and I are like 10, 11 scenarios into Gloomhaven, and we're loving it. Isaac Childers, I hate you because you're so smart. This game is genius. We absolutely love it. And yeah, I mean, we're going to be cranking more of these out, cranking other games on the shelf of shame, which is behind me and goes 20 feet that way and 10 feet that way. It's crazy. So that's going to be a great thing, being able to simply not worry about playing prototypes, playing things you just, you have to play to take a look at, but just chilling out. And you know what? It's a Wednesday afternoon. Let's start playing some games, that kind of thing. Instead of like, answer some more emails. Go do this. Look at some print previews and things like that. Yeah. I'm a gamer. I've always been a gamer. Gaming is a passion. So being able to just do the gaming that I want to do is going to be amazing. So we'll be doing a lot of that going forward.
Yeah, I see some great things on the shelf behind you.
Yeah, I think we all like to retire so we can play Gloomhaven. That's really you need to retire to have enough time to play through the entire campaign.
I mean, it's got to be. I mean, I haven't calculated. I don't know how long it's going to take to do a campaign, but I mean, each time we do a scenario, it's probably a 3-hour commitment. I mean, something like that. By the time you get it ready and you do this and you plan it out, so there's already 30 hours invested in the whole thing. So how many more? It's going to go on for a long time, and I couldn't be happier because Frosthaven's also on its way too. So very exciting.
You didn't start with Jaws of the Lion, though?
No, I started this before Jaws of the Lion came out. Jaws is over here somewhere. Oh, it's right over there on the floor. I haven't even put it on the shelf of shame yet. It's sitting over there. So we did this. I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll pull that one out because I know some of those early scenarios are easier or quicker. But I've got all this content. I mean, at some point, sure, I'll pull that out too. Then I've got 3 games to play. So.
Yeah, I think you have enough going on.
Yep.
So right now, of course, we're in the midst of Gen Con online. As you said, unfortunately, we can't be together in person. But what do you think about what's going on in the industry right now, and especially in regards to these online conventions? Can Gen Con online be as good as real Gen Con in any way? What are your hopes and dreams for this type of thing going forward?
I am the eternal optimist within the company, for the industry, everything. But I've got to say that we're not going to ever replace the in-person experience. Let's face it, right? I mean, board games are a physical medium, right? We sit around a table, we hang out together, maybe we're having a beer or a soda, and we're playing something physically together. That's what it's about. I now have been doing myself, at least once a week, been doing online gaming, be it on Zoom, be it Jackbox games, sure, right, which is sort of a video thing. Basically, is with using your phone as your other implement there. Been playing role playing. I got a weekly role playing campaign, Pathfinder, first edition, which I'm so happy to be back into role playing. That's another thing I can do because I have more time. I can free myself up to do role playing now.
Yeah.
And I have been playing some board games online, but the ones I've been doing are always with a virtual implementation, right? So like I've been doing code names with a virtual board and things like that. It's just not going to be the same thing until we can get back together again. So while Virtual Gaming Con, that was the Board Game Geek Dice Tower convention that they did at the end of June, a month ago. Mm-hmm. While they did that, and it was moderately successful, people did play games. They used various mediums, Tabletop Simulator, Tabletopia, various ways of using Zoom to do it. It's simply, and Gen Con is now doing it. It's just not going to be the same. It can't be the same. I'm confident that in the future, and I'd like to just say optimistic that in 2021, things will be back to normal. Now, that's a very optimistic statement right now, but I like to dream. If physical conventions do occur again, I'm going to be the first one there. So I'm planning at the moment, on paper, I'm planning to be at Origins, Gen Con, BGG Con, Essen. I'm planning on being at all those conventions in 2021, and I will be at the virtual conventions for now, just not having that great experience that, we love to have sitting around a table together and just socializing too, right? And then after the convention's over, we meet for dinner, we meet for a drink, we just hang out and we relax together. All of that together, that's an experience that we as gamers, being social people, need to have together. And I'm hopeful it's going to happen in 2021.
Yeah.
And when you say you're physically going to be there, you mean you, not a cardboard cutout that will secretly just stalk people and appear in photos.
Stephen Buonocore cardboard is what you're talking about there. So, yes. So, no, I think he's in Dallas. I think he's on a pallet in Dallas right now, maybe. I'm not sure. But, no, I want to be there in person at all of those conventions. So I'm planning on it. If they run some semblance of physical convention, I do plan on being there at those locations.
Yeah, we could see, they have the baseball games now with the cardboard cutouts in the stands for people. Maybe that's the future of conventions is you'll pay a fee to make it look like you're there.
Those are so strange. I actually watched Brewers Cubs game the other day, and they didn't have the cardboard cutouts, but they had like the computer generated fans in various places.
That.
Yeah, they didn't have it constantly. So like when you're looking at most of the pitches, there's just nobody behind them. But then like when they would take different shots, they would show the stadium and they would show people like just computer generated people, and they would have sounds. The organist was still playing. I'm like, this is kind of odd, but I'm really happy to see sports coming back on some level because I'm not a huge sports guy, but I want to see it again. I want normalcy at some point in our lives again.
Yeah, they're slowly catching up to PS2 graphics there.
That's the best we can hope for right now. So yes, I'm optimistic too. I think it's important. It's good to be hopeful about these kinds of things. Anything else in terms of our, again, now that you're able to experience more games, you're able to maybe talk to other companies outside of Stronghold and maybe have more time to form relationships. Is there anyone in the industry right now that you think is really doing something special and unique? I mean, there are a lot of them probably, but either a company or maybe there's a trend in actual game design that you're fascinated by right now. What are you looking forward to in the world of gaming?
I'm still going to put a shout out for the roll and write games. I think that, while it's not actually new, it's new in the hobby. Yahtzee was a roll and write, right? Yahtzee was like the first roll and write game, and that's like 50 years old.
Yeah.
But that movement now, and proudly, I'd like to say that Stronghold kind of, was right there when it started, and we got the license for Gone Schon Clever. We rebranded that to That's Pretty Clever and Twice as Clever and Bricks and Dizzle and Encore. So we're coming out with our 7th and 8th roll and writes this year. Most of those nice small box, but I think that, and I might as well mention them there. One of them is Divvy Dice. Divvy Dice is a nice kind of a bigger roll and write, which is kind of cool. And guess what? I literally can't remember the other one. Imagine that. I'm already like forgetting things. Is that terrible?
Your brain is already all right. We can push that aside for now. Let's make room for Gloomhaven rules.
You put on the sunglasses.
I've got Gloomhaven. So we got some more September releases. Oh, and by the way, at Gen Con, quick little aside there. At Gen Con, Stronghold Indie Boards and Cards is doing a big sale, so you'll be able to pick up a lot of our releases coming in September, October, November releases before they hit the street. at a nice discount price when you buy like packages of these things. So check that out at the Gen Con online event. So roll and writes, again, back to that. I mean, I think that people are going to continue implementing these in really interesting ways going forward, and using them in bigger ways in board gaming, not only in the smaller, like roll and mark a little thing on my little sheet here, but, in bigger ways on board games, where you also have a board as well as what you're doing here. So I think that this trend is going to continue, because I think this design space has not even been really tapped at all so far. And in fact, well, I can't talk more about it, in 2021, probably, because I know it's not this year, we're going to have another roll and write coming out that is very much outside the box kind of thinking for roll and write. And if any more that I say after that, I would be giving too much away. But it's definitely something that was pitched to us, and literally as the guy was saying it, I was saying to myself, well, we're going to sign this today. I'm signing this today. I'm definitely signing this today, because it was so good. His idea was so good to make this game that will be great for both the entire family as well as gamers. It just was a really great take on roll and write. So check that one out coming out. So that's my trend that I think that we're going to see going forward. I'm also going to mention that one thing that I think is a trend is going to happen is that companies are going to get a little smarter about their releases. Right now, we have too much product in the market, too much product coming out, and this is causing problems. It's a systemic problem that so many publishers joined over the last 10 years, much more over the last 5 years, and the rate of growth is unsustainable. So it's sort of a negative thing that I'm talking about, but we need to focus on core products, core product lines, and not simply just keep throwing things against the wall. And I was very guilty of that for quite a bit of time. But you're going to see Stronghold Indie Boards and Cards, us definitely, and quite a few other companies saying, okay, 1 game, 2 games, just X number of games per quarter will come out now, or per year will come out now, and we will market those heavier, and we will do a better job at just those games, and then focus on those evergreen titles that we have in the catalog to keep the company moving forward, not putting out 20 titles per year. It's unsustainable. And think about this: with movies and other forms of entertainment and books, which are digital now, you don't have to have a physical item for those things anymore. You have it digitally. There's a physical problem, a physical issue with owning games.
Yeah,
as you can see from behind me, and you guys have the same thing. So it's not sustainable for even the people that have the most games to continue adding games to their collection. They've got to then cull games, and it just doesn't work anymore, and they can't play them all. So we're going to see, I think, a retrenching in the industry and doing less, but doing them better and promoting them more to the market that's best for them. That's my view of what's going to happen 2020, 2021, and beyond.
So you're saying there'll be a big market culling, so culling before it even hits our shelves.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting way of putting it, that we'll be smarter as publishers. They will be smarter as publishers. I have to start talking like in a different way. The publishers will be smarter about what they bring out and how much product they bring out. I do believe that to be fact moving forward.
Yeah, we're going to be talking to Jamie Stegmaier later in the week, and Stonemaier Games, like, they only put out 1 or 2 new games a year now. And I know AEG also recently made a move to only publish like a few games a year. So yeah, definitely we're starting to see that happen. Mm-hmm. It is a lot. It's hard to keep track of everything. Almost it's impossible, really. I mean, a huge part of that has got to be Kickstarter. Do you think that we're going to see a big change in how Kickstarter is used or in how that's approached by people?
No, Kickstarter is an amazing vehicle. If anything, even more will be done on Kickstarter. I mean, more as it'll start on Kickstarter before it goes into standard traditional distribution, if anything. Kickstarter was something in the past. It was a vehicle to raise capital to do a project, and it still is for some publishers and for many, many, many other types of projects that are on Kickstarter. It's not just board games. Mm-hmm. Games are the biggest category in Kickstarter by far. Amazing. Now what Kickstarter has become is a marketing vehicle. We have data points to prove that a game that launches on Kickstarter and does well on Kickstarter will do better than a game that goes direct to distribution. Indie Boards and Cards and Stronghold Games, Indie Game Studios now has done over 50 successful Kickstarters. And with this knowledge, with these data points, we see that Kickstarter becomes a marketing event. You push the game before it comes out in various social media platforms here, advertising it on BGG, advertising it in various ways, pushing it out into game media before it comes out. Gamers see it on Kickstarter. They start talking about it. They invest into it, invest mental capital, their passion. They back it. They talk about it for a year, 6 months to a year before it actually comes out. And then it comes out to them. They talk about it. Then it goes to standard distribution. This entire cycle is a much more efficient way of putting out a game because it takes so much of that risk out. You'll know exactly what you got to print for Kickstarter, and then you can easily project what it's going to do into distribution as well. Now, games that come directly into distribution, you're flipping a coin. How much is this game going to do going into distribution? And that's a problem because you print, making up a number, 5,000 units. It's only 2,000 units sold of that game in distribution, and then that curve immediately starts coming down. Like, all of a sudden, you're getting this very, very small number trickling out. What do you do with those units? They sit there in a warehouse collecting dust, and you're basically giving them away to conventions and things. It's not a good thing. The Kickstarter model is a marketing event. It always will do better for people who understand how to utilize it best.
Now, a big model of a lot of Kickstarters is the Kickstarter exclusive. I'm just curious if you have data points if that significantly alters, as you said, the game projecting better. Is it just like does a little bit better?
I never do. I don't believe in exclusive. When you use the word exclusive, you mean that you as the backer will be the only person ever to get this. I don't believe in it. I think it's a bad idea. I think it creates elitism on every level. It's not good. What I do believe in is that you give the backer something more than the retail edition will have. And then the rest of that content is available at a later date after the Kickstarter is fulfilled. Once the stuff is out in retail, the rest of that content is available on your website, at conventions, or on Board Game Geek. And what we like to do, we'd like to take all that extra stuff and put it on Board Game Geek. Why? That helps Board Game Geek, right? I mean, they need to raise money to keep their operation going. That gives us a reciprocal advertising credit. We give them stuff free. They give me credit. They sell it to create revenue. I use that credit to put up ads and promote the company on Board Game Geek, which is, of course, the biggest board gaming outlet out there. A great one hand washes the other. So exclusives, I think, are just bad idea. We don't do them. If you want to do them as a Kickstarter company, that's on you. I'm not judging you. I just think for us, it's a bad idea.
We'll judge them a little bit for you.
Oh, yeah.
It would be nice if everyone thought the same way.
And again, I literally don't. I mean, there are certain practices that I believe are, and they're very few, that are just like, I have to be careful here, that are really unscrupulous and really bad. If you're honest about it and you say, this is a Kickstarter exclusive,
right?
If you want this, you must get it here, then you've been honest and you've said it. So that you can't really fault somebody for doing that, in my opinion. Oh, you didn't know about the Kickstarter? Well, if you are really so focused on these things, you have to just look at Kickstarter. But that's so important you to have every card, every chit. You watch Kickstarter religiously, and you'll never have to worry. So I don't fault people for doing it. It's just not a way that I'll do it. And I can see by your reaction that you'd rather not happen either. So we're in agreement on it. But I'm not going to get mad at Company X for doing it.
That's fair.
You did it. You deal with the consequences of doing it, because people will judge you, as you said. Right. But I can see that it's not. It's as long as they were honest about it, then they're doing it in a fair way.
Fair enough. I think it's fascinating what you're saying about, the board game industry's use of Kickstarter, and also as it relates to, the difference between this medium and books or movies and needing digital and physical space. Because certainly for a movie, they kind of have an advertising plan built in at this point. Like, we know what that rollout looks like. Or I feel like before Kickstarter came along, a lot of times, even now, it's hard, I think, to know how do you tell people about your board game. There's sometimes now there are trailers for board games, but it's not as typical of a thing. And reviews for board games, of course, come out, but not in the New York Times, for instance. It's not as wide reaching. What do you think about that, about the differences between board games and other genres of whatever art, whatever you want to call it, media? And do you think there'll maybe be any kind of a process where those things become more similar in how they operate, and it will become more mainstream for people? I feel like that's a lot of questions, but take it as you will.
Yes, I'll take that as I will. I liked what you said. There are no trailers for board games, but Kickstarter is your trailer, right? I mean, that's just an interesting way of thinking about it. I never thought of that, because I don't do much like $30 million movie that was that's actually probably cheap these days. $100 million that they spent on the movie and the advertising and publicity to get that thing out there, and the trailers and all that kind of stuff. In our little board game industry. But as I mentioned, Kickstarter is like your marketing wing. It's like if you do it right, it is your marketing, and you put up the videos, and you get people, pay them to do your professional online gameplays. You pay content creators like you guys to do stuff like that to help you out. So that's where I can see that. As far as like, will we ever become truly mainstream? We're moving toward mainstream, which is great. Mainstream, and you want to get there, but there's just never going to be the number of dollars in this industry to make us movies or books or something like that. That's just in no projection in my lifetime can I truly see something like that happen. But we'll continue to see us pushing ourselves in various ways and to various places, so that more and more people know about us. We want that to happen. There was a movement early on to say, like, well, let's keep it just for ourselves, like gamers. We don't want all the public. No. We want everybody. We want the most inclusive. Let's not even talk. Inclusive and diverse, of course. We just want everybody to know about what we do. Sure, we like being nerds. We got this nerdy thing that we do. But at the same point, if you could just think about that, if you go someplace and you just start talking about games, and then like somebody walks up and says, yeah, I played Gloomhaven, or I played that roll and write game, and you just start doing that stuff, and you have more people you can talk to about it. I mean, I keep introducing my family to it, and they're not gamers, but like all of a sudden they say like, hey, can you bring over that bicycle racing game, Flamme Rouge, in my catalog? They love that, and they're not gamers. We want to bring it out to more people. The more people we bring it out to, the bigger we can expand the market and expand it on that lighter end, which is great, because once you get somebody bought into that lighter gateway thing, they'll continue to creep up the curve, and they'll be playing Gloomhaven with me in the future. So all of those things together will happen. It's just going to take time. We're just not going to become, and we can't really anticipate that we're going to become the next, movie industry. That's not realistic. But to become a bigger industry is a good thing, and I think it's going to happen more and more year after year.
On the thoughts of a bigger industry, we've noticed in recent trends that, before when we started Roll for Crit, if we went to the board game aisle in a major store such as a Walmart or a Target, you'd probably not see anything beyond like a Monopoly. But nowadays, you see Ticket to Ride, you have the Target or Walmart exclusives there. How do you feel about the idea of trying to appeal to those mass stores, which gets definitely a lot more eyeballs and the general mass media?
Sure. To do so, you have to have a very specific type of game. I mean, frankly, I'll go on the record as saying Target has been courting us for years to give them something exclusive. I don't mind. We would not have minded doing so as long as that exclusive window was very short, and therefore, like Jaws of the Lion, they got a short window that Isaac got that into the store. And trust me, when a company like Target offers you something like that, they're paying for the entire print run. And they're not paying for a 5,000 unit print run. No, they're paying for something many, many, many times bigger than that, and giving you all the profit and giving you everything you're going to make on that initial printing of the game that goes into all of their stores, in the entire United States. To get to that point, though, and Jaws of the Lion is a little bit is outside of what I'm about to say, because that's a $50 game, and it's a bigger game in every way than the normal game that you'll see there. Every way. I mean, it's the game that weighs like 10 pounds. It's like, I picked this up. I'm like, I thought it was going to be like this, like, oh yeah, a small version of Gloom. I think I'm like, holy crap, this is great. Oh, put it down. So what you need for Target or Walmart, you need smaller games, a lower price point, very accessible, very colorful style, approachable themes and artwork. It's very specific. Or you riff on a known IP like that, or Terraforming Mars. I'm amazed we haven't even mentioned that name.
Wow.
So we've here. So if you Terraforming Mars light, like Gloomhaven light, like Jaws of the Lion, if you can get something like that, Target will pick it up in a heartbeat, and they will run with it, and you'll be very successful with it. And it's a very good idea to do it for any publisher who can do this, because, again, your Target shopper or your Walmart shopper is not you and me. Well, yeah, we go there. But we don't go there looking for games, right? What the people that go there looking for games are looking like grandma's looking for Monopoly, or things like that, or Uno, right? But if you can get them in there and you get these games, you get My First Terraforming Mars sitting next to Monopoly and Uno, you're going to convert somebody sometime. And we're talking, millions of people go there. Sorry, right? This is a number that we can't fathom that walk into Target in a year, all over the country. Well, I'm sure it's over 1 million people walk in, into Target. You're going to convert those people at some point. Some percentage of those people are going to be like, "What's this thing? Whoa, this is interesting." And then maybe they'll get out their phone and they'll be like, "Oh, look at that. There are a lot of games like this. Oh, let me buy this one." Then later on, they play it. This is interesting. And they keep going up the chain. And that's what we need to do. But there are very specific games that will do well there. They're either IP games, known IPs in board gaming, Terraforming Mars, Gloomhaven, or they are, big IPs out there in media. And they're going to be those lighter games, those $20, $30 games. That's the price point that Target really wants for things that they put in that store, because that's where their shopper is. They're not at certainly $100 games, and they're barely at the $50 game, and that's an anomaly. Jaws of the Lion is an anomaly to get placed well in Target.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to see everything becoming bigger and bigger in different ways. And Stephen, we love your optimism. We love your enthusiasm, and I love your overall message that I think is a great message that everybody should have right now, which is just, like you said, we want more people to play more games so that we can talk about the hobby more with everybody. So
exactly.
On that, is there any final thoughts on just the last couple days before you officially head into retirement? Anything you want to leave people with before we let you go?
Well, if you don't mind, I'll do some plugs about me, if that's okay.
Plug away.
Plug away.
With the new Buonocore, relaxing look. Because as we talked about it already, I'm not going away. So people are like, hope you're not dying or something. Like, no, you're not. No, I'm very healthy, and this is going to be great. But I want to talk about, a little bit more about what I'm doing and my rebranding and stuff, and how you'll see me transition from board game publisher to board game media person. So we've already mentioned that Board Games Insider, my podcast with Ignacy Chevicek of Portal Games, will continue. We're going to modify it just a little bit so that part of it will be about my media portion and things that I'm doing within the media. We're still going to talk about Portal Games, and then we're going to be talking about the next thing I mentioned, the Podfather of gaming, and that's where I'm rebranding myself. So please go subscribe to the podcast, Board Games Insider, wherever you like to get your podcast from. The Podfather of Gaming is now a Facebook page, so you can go over to Facebook and find that /Podfather Gaming, Facebook /Podfather Gaming. You can find that. Got a website, podfathergaming.com, Twitter account @Podfather Gaming, and Instagram and YouTube. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff on YouTube, and the YouTube channel is the Podfather of Gaming. I've been doing this thing called Happy Hour at the Stronghold, and I've been doing that ever since we've been all locked up in coronavirus COVID-19 world. Twice a week, every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern and Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. And what is this Happy Hour at the Stronghold, which I'm going to rebrand to Happy Hour with the Podfather of Gaming? So what is this thing? Basically, we get together on Zoom and we just talk and we laugh. Maybe we have a beer together or whatever you'd like to be drinking. And we talk about whatever's on our minds. There was a whole thing about of currywurst that we've been talking about, because for the Sunday one, we get Europeans and Germans that show up, and we talk about some of the things that go on in their culture as well. And of course, we're keeping things positive and keeping things funny in these stressful times where we can't really see each other. So all of these things. So by the way, and I'll be posting those events on the new Facebook page, the Podfather of Gaming. Go over there. You can sign up for the event. You get the Zoom link, and you join us Thursdays at 7 p.m., Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm going to continue doing other media things. So all of those media outlets that I'm talking about right now will be posting more videos. I'll be posting my view of the industry going forward. All of these things will be evolving over time as I get involved with more other people in the industry, in the media side of the industry as well. So I hope you follow me and join me on the new quest that I go on, positivity in gaming. Maybe we'll put that as a little bit of a tagline on it, because I definitely am a very positive person, and I believe we're going to get through all of this together and start seeing each other in person in the relatively near future again. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, thanks so much.
And of course, at any time, you're welcome to come back on.
Yes.
I will.
Maybe someday in person.
The Podfather will come back on and hang out with you again. Just make me an offer I can refuse, and then we'll talk.
There you go. I feel like are you going to say I'll be back? We're mixing the movie references.
That too.
Yeah. So it has been great hanging out with you. Love talking to you. And it wouldn't be Gen Con, and in whatever form it takes. It wouldn't be a real gaming convention without you making an appearance. So we're honored to have you on our channel. Everybody definitely check out. We'll put links in the description to where you can follow all that stuff. And thanks again, and it's been great seeing you, and we'll see you again in the future for whatever else the future brings.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And everybody home, this is Roll for Crit, and thanks for watching. Bye.
Thanks to all our members of our Patreon page for making this show possible. You can sign up for exclusive benefits or help us by liking and subscribing.
You can also take a quick survey to help us improve Roll for Crit, and in exchange, you'll receive access to a Patreon exclusive podcast episode. Stay up to date on all our Gen Con online coverage, including live gameplay at rollforcrit.com.